Like I said, you were a long time Democrat. You ran for president in 2020 as a Democrat. Now you're an independent, and you're an excellent book describing your journey ideologically, philosophically through that. Why did you choose to leave the Democratic Party?
In the book, I go into um, a number of the central reasons why I made that choice, but fundamental to them um, is that the Democratic Party has become a party uh, that is opposed to freedom, that is opposed to the central and foundational principles that exist within our founding documents and that serve as the identity of who we are as Americans and what this country is supposed to be about. It has become a party that is controlled by this elitist cabal of warmongers who are who are driving forward this quote unquote woke agenda. Um, and we see it through their racializing of everything. We see this through their defund the police mission. We see this through their open border policies. We see this through how, in their education policy, they are failing our kids, and how they are pushing this narrative that ultimately is a rejection of objective truth. Uh, the fact that it's a question up for debate about whether or not, well, actually, it's not a question up for debate for them. They are actively pushing for, um, boys who identify as girls to compete against girls in sports, uh, changing our language so that the word woman, the identity of being a woman, is essentially being erased from our society. And it is the height of hypocrisy and, frankly, an act of hatred towards women that they are so intent on doing this. And ironic that it's coming from the party that for so long proclaimed themselves to be the greatest feminists and the most pro-woman party in the country. I go into detail around each of these issues and more um, in the book, but you will see as we go through each of these issues, fundamental and foundational to every one of them is that sadly the Democratic Party has become a party that is so consumed by their desire for power, this insatiable hunger for power, that they are willing to destroy. They are willing to destroy our republic, our democracy, our freedom, just so that they can try to hold on to power and gain more power.
So these are just different mechanisms for power. The identity
Yes.
politics and the warmongering are related to each other in that they're mechanisms to attain more power.
Yes.
You know, you're making it sound like only the Democratic Party are full of power hungry people. So to you, the Republican Party, I don't know if you've met those folks, but some of them
Couple of them.
are also in love with power and
Yes.
are, at times to some degree, politicians in general are corrupt. Sometimes within the legal bounds, sometimes slightly outside of the legal bounds. And so to what degree is sort of the Democratic Party is worse than the Republican Party? So I don't want to paint a picture of like this kind of beautiful vision of the Republican Party
No,
that they're
that
somehow
doesn't
not
exist.
power hungry.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought this up. The book details why after 20 or so years as a member of the Democratic Party, I decided to leave. But also, and it goes through my experiences and things that I have seen and learned along the way. But I also point out exactly that fact in the book. But from the very beginning, with the prologue, is we should not be naive to think that this only exists within the Democratic Party. There are very serious problems within both of our political parties, specifically coming from politicians who are driven by this desire for power and who are so afraid of losing that power that they're willing to do whatever they feel they need to do, which centers around taking away our freedom. Because the more free we are to make our own decisions, even if they may end up being the wrong decisions, but to learn from those things and know that we've got to live with the consequences, that the beauty and messiness of what a free society looks like. They're so afraid of us because they see us as the people and our freedom as the central threat to their ability to remain in power. I think the difference that we're seeing today is that, unfortunately, we talked about this a little bit, how the Democratic Party has become a party where you must walk in lockstep with the leadership of that party, or risk being faced with your reputation being destroyed and smeared and all of these different attacks. And the reason why they do that is to put people like me and Bobby Kennedy and others up as an example of saying, hey, if you step out of line, if you challenge us, this is what we're going to do to you. The Republican Party has also done that, and they also have politicians and leaders who are more interested in feeding, the thriving system in the Washington establishment. But we're also seeing that the Republican Party also has some voices, and I would say increasing voices of people, and I would put Donald Trump in this category, who are challenging the quote unquote norms of the Republican Party that are represented by people like Nikki Haley or Mike Pence, for example. The Republican Party is not a monolithic entity, and it means different things to different people. And that's where I think the real challenge in this next election is less. It's really less about one political party over another, and it's more about our opportunity as voters to select leaders. First of all, to fire those who are against freedom and who are warmongers who, by their essence, are willing to take away our freedom in the name of national security, and vote for people. Nobody's perfect. We shouldn't hold anybody up on a pedestal, but vote for those who are committed to the Constitution and who hold those values that represent the interests of the people.